Hello and welcome again, my name is Reef as always, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a new Diablo 3 build. Well, the build I'm using currently in Season 4 of Diablo 3 with my wizard. So, the build is based on the new verse set, the changed build set. It used to be quite terrible, but now it's really fucking awesome. The only problem is with this build obviously is it's really gear dependent. You really need to have the following sets of items or it doesn't work at all, sadly. Okay, so first off let's go through the pieces you need for the Archon build that I'm currently using. Okay, first off, you need obviously the verse pieces, the verse shoulders, the verse gloves, the verse chest piece, the new helm, the pants, and the boots. For the 6-piece bonus. Now, the new set bonuses are 2 set is Archon gains the effect of every rune, which used to be the 4 set bonus for verse Amazing Arcana when it was just a 4-piece set, and I think the 2 set bonus was 500 intelligence, but that's been changed. The 4 set bonus now is Archon stacks also increase your attack speed, armor, and resistances by 1%. Now this is really good. Basically, you used to get an Archon stack, and the way it works without the 6 set bonus, basically, you have every time you kill something, you get an Archon stack. And that increases your damage, your attack speed, your armor, and resistances. So this is nice. This makes you a lot more powerful, but it's by itself it's not that strong. You really need the 6 set bonus. And the 6 set bonus is you also gain Archon stacks when you hit with an Archon ability. So now every time you just hit something with your Archon explosive blast or your disintegrate beam with your Archon, you get a stack. So you can quite easily, if there's quite a large pack of critters, mobs get up to 100, 120, even 200 stacks if you really want it, which does, trust me. I think I had 2 stacks at the same time and I had up to 60 million sheet DPS, which was quite a lot. Now this build is viable melee for up to grade of 60 and upwards. Obviously it depends on the gear and the level of the legendary gems you have, and also your RNG luck with the type of rift density and all that. This is just the main items you need. Obviously you need the verse set. Then you also need the new Chantodo's Resolve set. Now Chantodo's has been changed for the better. It used to be quite... Originally when the old Critical Mouse Wizards, I don't know if any of you remember that, Chantodo's was based in slot Critical Mouse Wizard. And then they changed it quite a bit, and then it was kind of shit for a while, and now they made it good again. Now the 2 set bonus is every second while in Archon form, you expel a wave of destruction dealing 350% weapon damage to enemies within 30 yards. Now, 350% weapon damage to enemies within 30 yards for every second doesn't sound that much. But the second part is where it gets good. Every time you hit with an attack while not in Archon form, 350% weapon damage is added to the wave of destruction, stacking up to 20 times. Now this means this damage stack, right, of the Chantodo's world that pulses every second can go up to 7,000, about 7,000% weapon damage per pulse in a 30-yard area, which is quite a big area and does a lot more damage than the Archon ability itself. The Archon ability is more there for moving around and surviving and having fast-paced damage, but this is really good. And then obviously you need the new seasonal belt, the Fazula's Improbable Chain. And the reason you need this is you automatically start with 20 Archon stacks when entering Archon form. Now this is the ideal roll to have. If you have 15 stacks, it's not that good, so you really want the 20 stacks. You really can't use any other belt here than this one if you're in seasons. And then rings wise, you want the Halo of Arlis for the massive survivability it gives you, because you're going to be in melee range the whole time, and the way it works is your ice armor now reduces damage from melee attacks by 53% and automatically casts Frost Nova whenever you take 10% of your life in damage. Now, in higher grade rifts and torments above torment 6, everything that hits you is basically going to proc Frost Nova. So that's really good to have. The other ring you need is a Convention of Elements, obviously for danger. I prefer having cooldown reduction on it alongside critical hit damage and critical hit chance. Same with a lot of gear. Cooldown reduction is going to be really important for this build. And one of the other pieces is the Ancient Path in Defenders. Now the reason you need this is because each stunned enemy within 25 yards reduces your damage taken by 11%. Now, due to the way the Halo of Arlis works and Frost works, Anything that's frozen counts as stun according to this item. So this really helps you even more with your damage reduction, which is really important to keep you alive. And lastly, for amulets, a half-hour amulet with a nice passive is good, but obviously a Mars Kaleidoscope is best in slot, or the Severian amulet for that lightning immunity, because you're going to be in close range, electrified, and poison's going to be your bane of your existence. Gems wise, Pain Enhancer is good. Bane of the Stricken, the new one, is really good to use. It's basically best in slot. The reason for it is not so much the first ability, which is each attack you make against an enemy increases the damage it takes from ability attacks by 1.23%. It's more about gain 25% increased damage against bosses and Rift Guardians. Now what this does is usually, let's say on a grade of 15 that you finally reach the boss, and usually it would take about 4 minutes to kill him. Now it's a 1 minute fight. Now this saves you a lot on time. The Pain Enhancer is there because critical hits cause the enemies to bleed for 2000x weapon damage as physical over 3 seconds. Now it knows it's physical and it's not really boosted by any element the wizard uses. But this is more about the second ability. Once again, the Gain Blood Frenzy, granting you 3% increased attack speed for each bleeding within 20 yards. So you increase your attack speed even more over the stacks you get from Archon, and it's really, really good. Really good. I mean, things just melt basically. And lastly, Bane of the Trapped, obviously, because for any melee class, what gem is better than increased damage against enemies under the effects of control impairing effects by 29%, and you gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%. So everything procs on itself. It's a fucking great gem. Everyone knows it, everyone uses it. It's great. You could, if you're playing seasonal or not playing seasonal, you could probably use here like what was that? The cooldown reduction belt. Kind of forgot the name of it at the moment. Or Witching Hour is also quite good for you. Or the String of Years for that melee damage reduction is also quite good. Though it's not really based in slot, you really want this spell to make the set work. And if you don't have, well, if you're not seasonal, you don't have Bane of the Stricken, so you're going with Gogok of Swiftness for that cooldown reduction and the attack speed, obviously. And then you also have to have a few things cubed. Now, the items you need cubed specifically is the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, which reduces the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second when you hit with a resource spending attack. This is really important to keep your Archon up as much as possible. And the other thing you need is the Swami. Now, the reason you need the Swami is the bonus from Archon stacks now lasts 20 seconds after Archon expires. Now, if you're doing this right, it should take you about 5 to 10 seconds at most to get back into Archon. So you'll keep your stacks from your previous Archon when you go into the new one. And if you keep it to 5 stacks, you can basically build up quite a lot of stacks. So let's say I killed a bunch of stuff and my Archon ended at 130 stacks. And then I start the new one buff at 130 Archon stacks with a lot of Chantaris Resolve stacks. And I can build up a lot more stacks. Your damage just goes up and up and up again. Well, obviously you can't keep the stacks up indefinitely. Some of them will fall off, but you guys get the idea. And lastly, I'm using the Fulminator because I'm running a lightning bolt, which is probably the most popular bolt at the moment for Archon. There's also a fire one, but it's a bit harder to gear for. Well, the reason for that is the Fulminator has been changed slightly. It still does that lightning damage as a chance to turn enemies into lightning rod thing, but the damage has been upgraded to 555% weapon damage every second to nearby enemies for 6 seconds. So that's quite good, instead of the old like 200% weapon damage it used to do. So basically you have the lightning damage pulsing and critting, and then you have these things applying bleed to anything critting, and they're having a damage over time effect on them. It's just a big fucking mess all over the place. Now let's get into skills. Skills wise, I'm using Blizzard Snowbound to get my Archon stacks up and to my Chantodo stacks up and to reset the cooldown on Archon. And the reason I'm using Blizzard over the more popular Arcane Torrent is that Arcane Torrent it's a casting thing where you have to stand and cast, and yes, you can move around and cast, but it's a bit more expensive resource wise, and you have to stand and cast. Well, the Blizzard you can just spam, it basically casts every time you click, and it does pick up as hits every time you click Snowbound, and it only costs 10 arcane power, so it's quite easy to get down and cover a large area. Secondly, I'm using Magic Weapon Force Weapon. This is just for the extra damage. You can also use deflection if you're having problems staying alive, because this is really good. When you perform an attack, gain a protective shield for 3 seconds that absorbs 10,000% damage. These do stack indefinitely, so it's also really good with the Archon with your super high attack speed and all that. Other than that, I'm using Archon Pure Power because of the way the verse set works. Basically, Archon uses the highest elemental type damage that you have, but at the initial Archon explosion that combustion gives you of 3680% weapon damage is usually the rune you choose here. So make sure you choose a rune for Archon that's the same element as you want to use. In this case, it's Pure Power for the lightning damage. Other than that, I'm using Stretch Time, Slow Time to increase my attack speed and also help for a bit of crowd control. Teleport Fracture, still more crowd control and helping me keep those slow time bubbles up. Ice Armor Crystallize, because I think it's the best rune for Ice Armor. Basically what it does is when you're struck by a melee attack, your armor is increased by 20% for 30 seconds. And also, surround the normal, that's the bonus, and normal Ice Armor so surrounds yourself in a barrier of ice that reduces damage from melee attacks by 12%. So it's really good. It's really high survivability one. Passives, I'm using Blur for the 17% damage reduction. Audacity to deal 30% more damage to everything within 15 yards because I'm doing close ranged melee damage. So that's just a cat going out the window. And Unstable Anomaly for that second life ability. They have changed it quite a bit. It's a bit better than it was, but still not really that good, but it's all we have. And Evocation for cooldown reduction. In my case, with the Hellfire Amulet, if you are going to craft one, I suggest getting one with either one of those passives. Astral Presence is also quite nice because it's a nice arcane regeneration. If you don't have anything that regenerates arcane power, unless you're going with... If you don't want that, you can go with Magic Weapon Conduit, but it's not that good. So that's just the items and the skills you need in general. And for Paragons, what I suggest is on core, spend everything on main stat, on intelligence. You do not need new movement speed, you do not need arcane power, and you do not need vitality. The reason for this is you do not need movement speed because in arcane, you are going to, in Archon mode, you are going to teleport so much you do not need to movement speed. And the whole plan is to keep staying Archon as much as possible. If you want to be farming, let's say, bounties and stuff like that, you can just cube a Aether Walker for that cooldown reduction. For the changes teleport to arcane power instead of cooldown based. So that's all you need for movement. Other than that, offense you want cooldown reduction first, critic damage second, critic chance third, and attack speed last. Out of these, this is the way it's meant to be. This is the way I found it the best, and it's up to you. It might be different, but this works for me. Defense wise, life first. Most important, life first, because armor and all resist goes up so much with Archon stacks you don't need them that much, but it's life, armor, resist, all, then life regen, in that order. That's what I found works best. And utility, you want area damage, you want life on hit first, basically for healing, because you're going to be hitting a lot, and life on hit is going to help you quite a bit. And then you need area damage because they've changed it and it's quite good now. Resource cost reduction is not that important, but it really helps, and obviously gold fine is fucking useless. I mean, really, who needs extra gold fine in Diablo this time when it's so easy to get those Boon of the Hoarders and tons of gold and all that. Yeah, that's what you need, the Paragons, the skills, the items themselves. So next up I'm going to show you guys this build in action.